Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Trump's news conference, reaction to Trump's news conference the day after his conviction on 34 different counts in the hush money trial, the death of serial killer Robert Pickton. What a disturbing case that has been. What a disturbing story it continues to be. A new deal, a new ceasefire deal being offered to Hamas, I guess, from Israel. Joe Biden commenting on that, and sort of a strange response when asked from Biden about the Donald Trump situation. All that and more. Plus, I don't know, maybe this is sort of a TRUSPIRACIES story. It's a personality profile, and what a personality. We have a very special guest lined up tonight. Batman. Now, I'm not joking around. We have Batman coming on the program. We have the Batman. He lives in Canada. He does have a Batmobile. He patrols the streets in a Batmobile. He has become Batman. And we're going to interview him tonight. He's a friend of mine. And I am not joking. No, I mean, he's Batman. Are you getting what I'm saying? So you don't want to miss this. It's not like I being Batman. This is Batman. All right, you don't believe me? You stick around to find out. You will find out. I'm dead serious about this. Okay, so we have all that, and probably more, if there could possibly be anything better than what I just laid out for you in terms of a news broadcast and analysis program. We have everything on the other side of this transition, including John offer his perspective on today's news conference with Donald J. Trump.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Here I am, ladies and gents, back in the saddle. Donald Trump not giving up, still fighting. Today he held a news conference. He well, I don't know what to say about this. To me, he said he repeated a lot of what we've already heard. We know his position. He kind of laid it all out. I didn't honestly hear a whole lot of new information in this, but people are still talking about his situation, right? He, made that brief statement last night saying the entire system is corrupt, and of course, he's the standard. He's saying they're not just coming for me, they're coming for you. He's just in the way, right? So that's the spin on this standard. There was this aspect to it, though. Some people are viewing this in this way. It's like some of his political opponents. This, they say, it has been damaging to him because it shows that he is vulnerable. And so it has finally scraped a layer of that Teflon off, right? So he always had, he said that famous quote where he says he could shoot someone and people would still support him. I think that's largely being true. Has this really damaged him in that way? I don't get the sense that that's the case. That's what some of his political opponents are trying to suggest. But since, I guess since the verdict came down where he was found guilty yesterday on all 34 counts in the hush money trial, he's raised $34.8 million. And that is largely in small donations from people donating $20, $30, $40. When I say small in political terms, sometimes people donate thousands or even, to PACs, sometimes millions of dollars. So 20s and 30s all rolling in. It shows his appeal to sort of middle class America. Let's take a look at what's been posted on Truth Social tonight, and then we'll go to a little bit of what he had to say earlier today at his news conference. So I'll bring this up on the screen. This is the Donald J. Trump Truth Social account. I sometimes refer to this when I want to find out what the former president is thinking or saying. And there it is, 23 hours ago. The real verdict will be on November 5th. By the people. They know what happened here. Scroll down, there's some more recent posts. That's a link to an article, and there's another article coming to his, pro-Trump. These are pro-Trump articles from conservative kind of publications. And here's a quote from the Washington Examiner. New York Jets owner says voters remember life was better under Trump. We have, and look at this. Here's some sort of an article on AmericanThinker.com. It says the real reason Boeing is in the news, in short, China wants Boeing out. China's new knockoff passenger jet is waiting for approval as a replacement for the Boeing 737, and the Biden administration is only too willing to help the Chinese. There might actually be some truth to some of that, but it's pretty hard to fake a landing gear malfunction, which we just saw in a FedEx jet within the last, 24 hours, where it had to make a landing without the front landing gear extended, and it did kind of a belly flop on the front end. I don't know what happens to a jet after something like that. Do they have to scrap it? It wouldn't surprise me. Scroll down. There's more. There's a video coming up here, too, that I'll share with you. He says here, 1 hour ago, in many respects, our entire constitutional republic is on trial. We're facing very dark times. This is directly from the Donald J. Trump account. Very dark times in the future of the American Republic.
He said that.
We'll just run this clip. This is off Newsmax.
He said that this is much bigger than him. This isn't just about him. This isn't just about his presidency. This is about the Constitution, and that's really how we feel about this case, that this isn't just about the actual defendant in the dock. In many respects, our entire constitutional republic is on trial. When you have this leftist weaponization of the courts, when you have this unprecedented campaign of lawfare and election interference being waged against President Trump, we're facing very dark times in terms of just the future of the American Republic. He said that.
Let's keep scrolling, and here's a video just published or just posted a short time ago. Let's take a look at this.
This is a manufactured criminal case.
Ridiculous charges.
What happened today was offensive to the Constitution.
They've never articulated the crime here.
Awaken a sleeping giant.
What the radical left Democrats are counting on is your silence and your submission.
No one's going to stop us. No one's going to slow us down.
And the only way for us to fight back successfully is to elect Donald Trump in November.
When President Trump came out and said the real verdict will be on November 5th, he couldn't be more right.
But don't get mad. Get motivated.
We will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
New ad from the Trump campaign. Making the most of a bad situation, turning lemons into lemonade, maybe. Of course, this is going to be appealed. Let's go to today's news conference with Donald J. Trump. And then we'll play a little bit of this, and then we're going to call John Scotty Rimby and get his analysis on this. Here we go.
To me, they can do this to anyone. These are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. When you look at our country, what's happening, where millions and millions of people are flowing in from all parts of the world, not just South America, from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East, and they're coming in from jails and prisons, and they're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're coming in from all over the world into our country. And we have a president and a group of fascists that don't want to do anything about it, because they could right now, today, he could stop it. But he's not. They're destroying our country. Our country is in very bad shape, and they're very much against me saying these things. They want to raise your taxes by 4 times. They want to stop you from having cars with their ridiculous mandates that make it impossible for you to get a car or afford a car, but make it very possible for China to build all of our cars. It's a very serious problem that we have. We just went through one of many experiences where we had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. Now, I'm under a gag order, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. I'm under a gag order, nasty gag order, where I've had to pay thousands of dollars in penalties and fines and was threatened with jail. Think of it. I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by a lot, and I'm leading the Republicans to the point where that's over. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. Maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president, so we have to use his name. And this is done by Washington, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as this. As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell. And when we wanted to do things, he wouldn't let him.
Looks like we lost our feed there for a moment. Here we go.
Trial, we wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We had a DA who was a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. That's what he's really supposed to be looking at. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man hitting him up with machetes, a machete. Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating, and he's going rampant. And Bragg is down watching a trial on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. You know, it's only a misdemeanor, but to me, it sounds so bad. When they say falsifying business, that's a bad thing for me. I've never had that before. I'm falsifying. You know what falsifying business records is? In the first degree. They say falsifying business records. Sounds so good, right? It means that legal expense, I paid a lawyer, totally legal. I paid a lawyer a legal expense. And a bookkeeper, without any knowledge from me, correctly marked it down in the books. A very professional woman, highly respected, she testified. Marked it down in the books as a legal expense. So a legal expense, paid a lawyer, is a legal expense in the books. It's not sheetrock, construction, or any other thing. It's a legal expense. Think of that. This is what the falsification of business records were. And I said, what else are you going to call it? What else are you going to call it? Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case, because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified. But you would have said something out of whack, like it was a beautiful sunny day and it was actually raining out. And I very much appreciate the big crowd of people outside. That's incredible what's happening. The level of support has been incredible. So the whole thing is legal expense was marked down as legal expense. Think of it. This is the crime that I committed, that I'm supposed to go to jail for 187 years for. When you have violent crime all over this city at levels that nobody's ever seen before, where you have businesses leaving, and businesses are leaving because of this, because heads of businesses say, man, we don't want to get involved with that. I could go through the books of any business person in this city, and I could find things that in theory, I guess, let's indict him, let's destroy his life. But I'm out there, and I don't mind being out there, because I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen in the future. But this is far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my presidency. And the people understand.
Okay, so let's just pause the video there and bring John in. Hello, John Scotty Rimby. How are you tonight?
Well, good evening, Maverick family from around the world, worldwide. How are you, Sir Rick, tonight?
I'm just fine, and I'm glad you could join us again. I wanted to include you in this conversation because, of course, yesterday you took the lead on this, alerting me to the verdict coming down, and you were glued to the information coming forward. You provided great analysis last night, so I thought, let's bring him back for an encore. And here you are.
Well, thank you, sir. It's always a privilege, always a real privilege to be on Maverick News Worldwide with you, sir.
Well, the privilege is ours tonight. So what do you make of this news conference where a lot of the mainstream media is saying he was rambling today? What did you think?
Well, Maverick News family around the world, I think, I think we're still trying to get over and process what happened yesterday. 34 criminal charges against historical, the first president in the United States of America to actually stand, some call it a trial, Trump calls it a scam. It's just, I'm still trying to process it from yesterday, but I think he's had, a little bit of time to think about it. And Mr. Trump, President Trump, he's going to come back out fighting,
Yeah. I'm just going to ask in the chat, is there an issue with my audio? Is it distorted? Is there a problem? Because I saw some reference to it in the chat, which I wasn't looking at again until now. Or are we okay now, or how does this sound? No problem? Okay, so there was problem there, but everything's okay now. Okay, cool. All right, sorry, John.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I kind of lost track of what you were saying there. Could you just kind of repeat what you were saying?
Well, I think, we're all processing what happened yesterday. This verdict came down so quickly, which is why I called you kind of in a panic, because I didn't think it was going to come down until maybe next week. And it came down so quickly that took me off guard, and I, in an emergency farmer Alberta mode, called you right away. And here we are. I think it's almost like a car accident, my friend, that this has come down so quickly. 34 criminal charges. I was anticipating, with a lot of other people, and I've got some legal people around me in Alberta, we kind of made an assumption that it would probably be a mistrial, or one would hold out and it'd be a hung jury. Mm-hmm. And I'm just shocked that it came back, guilty on 34 counts. I'm still stunned, And with all due respect to the Maverick family worldwide, Alberta, the third largest oil reserves in the world, we're kind of pro-Trump here. We want our pipeline finished. Sleepy Joe, basement Bolshevik bunker Biden having an ice cream cone with Mr. Obama. They hated Canadians and didn't like the oil business in Alberta. So,
yeah. So here's an article from The Economist, and their headline: "The Disgrace of a Former American President." The subheading: "That this prosecution of Donald Trump was wrong-headed and counterproductive." So there's at least some degree of balance there. Would you agree with that? I'm not sure I would.
Well, I have to say, I think the judicial system is a little different than the Canadian judicial system. I think there's a lot more openness to possible corruption in the United States, the way their judicial system is set up, as opposed to Canada. Not that we don't have corruption in Canada, but I'm kind of still picking myself up off the side of the road from what happened yesterday. This and his name is Juan Merchan. Trump describes him as his tyrant judge. Again, the word rigged is being thrown around. What I didn't mention last night, I think this judge is in a little bit of conflict. Steve Bannon was the other trial that I was thinking about. Mr. Trump's, PR guy.
Yes.
And Steve Bannon was charged with, I think, obstructing justice. Where's my notes here? Obstructing justice on a subpoena, all to do with the January 6th, allegedly insurrection. But it's such a black eye to the United States of America and such a disdain on the White House and the Oval Office. Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary talks about this is just bad. This is just plain bad, folks, from around the world, whether you're in Canada or the United States of America. This is just bad business for the United States of America. I mean, this case never should have come to court.
Yeah, well, I think that it does tarnish the image of what has been, the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope for people around the world, for freedom and democracy, and now this. It's shameful. It is a stain on the country. And today, Joe Biden, in a news conference where he was at the White House talking about Israel confirming that it has presented Hamas with a truce proposal that could lead to a possible 6-week ceasefire in Gaza and possibly pave the way to the end of the war. So he's there and he's talking about this in the White House. And then at the end of the news conference, that's what really kind of caught my attention. I found this. Here it is here. I found that the full video, well, almost the full video, the White House chopped off the end of it, but it's the end that you don't see in the White House version that is of note, because the reporter shouts a question about Trump to Biden, and then look at the way he responds with something of a smirk. And this is on Fox, but if they clipped this in the White House video. If you go to the White House website, you're going to see it here, but you won't see it there.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign?
And
we'd love to hear your thoughts, sir.
Should he be on the ballot, sir?
He just walks away. A little bit of a smirk.
Little sly grin there from Biden as he's asked a question by Kelly O'Donnell.
And that's the end of that. But yeah, almost like a knowing, sly little smirk from Biden.
Wow.
And Trump, of course, saying that he believes this is all being choreographed by the Biden administration. And, in the world of nasty politics, yeah, I'd say that's believable. What do you think, John?
Well, I think, we have to say in the last 10 hours, historical raising money, allegedly about $39 million US raised for Donald Trump's defense fund, which is donaldjtrump.com. Historical money raised. I'm just kind of speechless. In Canada, I'm going to quote a little bit of lawyer. This trial has been so mishandled. We have something in Canada for our U.S. viewers around the world. We have the Supreme Court of Canada. I'm just going to talk really quickly here. 1911, Lord Loreburn. 1911, Supreme Court of Canada, Lord Loreburn. Fair hearing. A judge must come into a trial with an open judicial mind, open, non-biased to hear both sides. And if one side needs 9 hours to give their side of the story, and the other party needs 12 hours to give their side of the story, that's called a fair hearing with an open judicial mind. This Juan Merchan in New York City, he is one against Trump, favoring the prosecutions. I just don't think Trump had a fair, whether you love Trump or hate him, like Biden or not, let's give everybody a fair hearing and a fair platform. It should have been a change of venue. There clearly was not, that certainly was not provided to Mr. Trump. And every turn of the wheel, Trump's defense lawyers turned down. Bob Costello, I mean, there were witness after witness they wanted to bring in for Trump, and turned down. This Juan Merchan seemed to favor the prosecution big time in New York.
George in the chat says fixed trial. Alicia Smith says 34 charges all at once. Sandy says, I'm not stunned. I'm glad he got it, 34. George back saying JT is screwing Canada over a pipeline in Canada. We've got here's Billy Mustang says, I'm just completely anti-authority, anti-establishment. So yeah, there's a lot of support there for Trump in our audience, I think.
Rick, what was that movie? Maverick News Family, help me out. That movie with Demi Moore was in it. It was rigged jury. It was about a jury. How you can rig a jury in the United States of America. I can see the other movie star in my mind. I can't think of his mind. But you can rig a jury. Like you can, if you buy off one jury member out of 12, and they are trying in Canada anyways to take juries in Canada from 12 people down to 6. But if you buy off one member of a jury in the United States or Canada, you can rig it. You can rig it to swing it your way. There was that movie on it called Jury something, but I don't think Mr. Trump is out on a limb here. This thing is going to be struck down at appeal, no question about it. But the stain on the United States of America is going to be lasting for a long time, my friend, I think.
Well, a lot of people rallying around Donald Trump, a lot of his supporters, of course. I think that and based on the donations that came in, John, he's got still a lot of support out there, maybe even more now than he did before. And even Tulsi Gabbard has come to Donald Trump's defense, and in fact, some are saying this is almost like an endorsement.
If you turn on
Watch
the news
this.
right now, you're going to see almost nothing but people
This was
talking
actually
about
yesterday.
what happened in that New York courtroom today with Donald Trump. I think it's important that we take a step back and really look at what are the very serious consequences that have come from this, that extend far beyond this specific case, these charges, this verdict, and even Donald Trump. What we are seeing here should be a wake-up call to every American, regardless of your political affiliation, regardless about how you feel about President Trump or President Biden. What has happened is President Biden has turned our country into a banana republic, a country where those in power are using the law, the rule of law, and our justice system and law enforcement to persecute their political opponents. Now, this isn't something that is only happening to Donald Trump. The consequences of this apply to every one of us, because as we see this new norm and new precedent being set, how can we as Americans feel safe and feel emboldened in challenging political authorities in our own country when we know that they can use the power of law enforcement to go after us, to go after their political opponents, to go after people who have the courage and the audacity to challenge their authority? That is what is at stake here. The foundation for the success of our democratic republic is that we as Americans, we the people, have faith and trust in the rule of law. We must have this confidence that we will all be treated fairly under the law, regardless of our political affiliation or views, regardless of our race or religion, regardless of anything, any of these other affiliations or circumstances, that we will all be treated equally. That foundation of our democracy has been destroyed by the Biden-Harris administration. Make no mistake about how serious this is to you and me and to the future of our ability to live in a free society. They have done this through their personal political persecution of Donald Trump. If we allow this to stand, it'll forever be destroyed, and our country will be finished if it's not reversed, and reversed quickly. So how do we do that? The only way is if every one of us as Americans, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or a libertarian, when every one of us as Americans makes that decision that there is nothing more important than freedom, there is nothing more important than protecting our democratic republic, than defending our Constitution, than upholding the rule of law and saving our country. We must hold those accountable. We must hold President Biden and his administration accountable by punishing them and other politicians who dare to put their own desire for power in a higher place of importance than our freedom, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our rule of law, our democratic republic. It's not too late. November 5th is a critical election where we have the opportunity to hold these people to account by voting them out of office on November 5th and voting for Donald Trump.
So there you go. She says, vote for Donald Trump.
Wow.
What do you think?
Well, Mr. Trump, Donald J., he's still our president, Trump says Sleepy Joe, nursing home Biden is dumb, incompetent, and a Manchurian candidate. Rick, what's a Manchurian candidate? I don't know. And Michael Cohen, he's relieved. I'm relieved that the trial is over and the verdict is in. I think Mr. Michael Cohen is relieved he's not back in Rikers Island or Alcatraz, my friend. And as a side note, Maverick News family around the world, Lori Spencer, let's send her our prayers and blessings. What does Mr. Kennedy running for president think about this? Like, Rick, we've forgotten about Mr. Kennedy between Sleepy Joe nursing home Biden and convicted 34 felon Mr. Trump. What's Mr. Kennedy think about this? He's been pretty silent on all this, and Trump said today he's up another 6 points in the polls, and the celebrity comments coming from Barbara Streisand, Stephen King, Robert De Niro, say Alex Baldwin, Trump's a nut job, but Kennedy's been pretty quiet, Rick?
I think he made a comment about it, just saying, what was the comment that I heard from him? It was something to the effect of, there are only 3 requirements to be president. You have to be a citizen, you have to be an adult, and what's the third one?
You can't be in a nursing home.
No, you can be. His point was that you could be a murderer or be convicted of a serious crime on that level and still be president and serve from a jail cell. So that was sort of his comment on it. He has been out there. He has made some comments.
Rick, I really loved last night, our show last night. Kevin Michaleci, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. Sorry, Kevin. Can we squeeze that Kennedy presidential desk into Rikers Island in cell number 22 or Alcatraz? Can we squeeze that in there with the Secret Service and the dining room, the hall, and the limousine? What really got me about 3 weeks ago, the mayor of New York, and I'm ad-libbing now, the mayor of New York about a month ago had a press conference. The black mayor of New York had a press conference and said, we're all prepared if Donald J. Trump, ex-president of the United States, comes to Rikers Island. We're ready. We can handle the Secret Service. They'll be in cell number 3, 4, and 5. And yada bing, yada bing. Why would you even put that out, that brain fart, to the world? It just defies logic to me. The American brand has been so damaged. It's unbelievable, Rick.
Yeah, so, John, we're going to wrap it up. Give me a final thought, because we have Batman coming on very, very shortly, and I have a few other things I need to cover before we get to him. Final thoughts on the Trump news conference today?
Well, my final thoughts would just be, you know what? The truth always comes out. May God bless one of the greatest countries in the world, the United States of America. Without them, Canada would be nothing. And I just pray for truth and justice, honesty and integrity. And I don't know, Rick. We're tuning into, as the stomach turns, the young and the restless, and another world. I mean, if you think this is ending tonight, my friend, we're going to have a lot more conversations, because it's going to be a fun summer, my friend.
All right, John Scotty Rimby, thank you, sir, for joining us on the program again tonight.
Cheers. May God bless the Maverick News family worldwide.
All right. And we will be right back, folks, right after this.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! To bugs!
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now, at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program. For your mind.
Okay, let's get to some of these other stories tonight before Batman shows up. Video being posted tonight of people kind of storming the border, trying to get into Poland. Apparently, let's take a look at what this is, what's going on there. Migration, immigration, emigration. Seems to be a recurring theme directed at Western countries.
Bliżej podejdź! Napierdalaj! Wypierdalaj stąd, kurwa, ty! Wypierdalaj! Wypierdalaj!
What border is that again? Texas? No, that would be Poland, apparently. That's what's going on over there. A familiar scene. Back in Canada, a story is making international headlines. From British Columbia, convicted BC serial killer Robert Pickton is dead. 74 years old. He was attacked violently in prison by a fellow inmate in Quebec back on the 19th of this month. He was taken to hospital where he was put into a medically induced coma, but he passed away today. His next of kin have been notified according to the Correctional Service of Canada. They have issued a formal statement saying, "We have also contacted registered victims in accordance with their specified notification preferences." Quebec Provincial Police are saying that this assault occurred around 5:15 p.m. inside the Port Cartier institution. They have a 51-year-old suspect incarcerated as a result of the attack on Picton. Of course, Picton, a notorious serial killer. The family owned a pig farm, which became this is a picture of him, of Picton. One of the most gruesome, horrific crime stories, serial killing stories anywhere, let alone in Canada. Horrific story, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. He was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison back in 2007. He was charged with the murders of 26 women. They found the remains of 33 women, including DNA, during a search of his pig farm in Port Coquitlam, BC. And these numbers, of course, don't really add up because he went on and boasted at times about killing as many as 49 women. Police were only ever able to confirm that he had killed Serena Abbotsway, Marnie Frey, Andrea Josbury, Georgina Papin, Mona Wilson, and Brenda Ann Wolfe. But the case will forever remain part of Canada's dark history, the dark side of Canada's history, and every country has a dark side like that because every society has some deranged, crazy people like that. But Picton met his demise behind bars. And I don't think there are any tears being shed for him tonight. What else do we have for you here this evening? It's back to politics again. I guess I'm hearing that Elon Musk is going to host some town halls for Biden, well, presidential town halls in lieu of some of these debates. So he has them scheduled apparently for Trump, or at least he's got confirmations that Trump and RFK Jr. will be participating in town halls online, but so far no confirmation from Biden. And back in Canada for a moment, the Department of National Defence is moving 1,000 employees out of their office building in downtown Ottawa, citing safety concerns. The building is at 400 Cumberland Street at Rideau Street, and just a short few steps away from the Byward Market, if you know anything about downtown Ottawa. Kind of a touristy area. Nice. It's a nice section, a business area. A lot of restaurants and cool little shops in there, bars. So they're concerned about some safety issues, not being entirely specific about what those safety issues might be, but safety issues nonetheless. So they're relocating these employees to a different building, the Major General George R. Perks building, the Department of National Defense headquarters on Colonel By Drive. Now, I know that in the last couple of years in particular, the government has had, some very specific or exacerbated concerns, I guess, about safety for employees coming in and out of that building. And I can't really say much more than that because I would be speculating, and I don't really think it would be appropriate to go sort of beyond that. But I think I know what they're worried about, and and I think justifiably so. So, probably wise for them to do what they're doing. 1,000 employees moving to a different location. And then we've got that situation with Biden and Hamas. I don't have Batman in the back room here yet, but he should be along shortly. I hope he doesn't have any trouble getting in. And that's kind of where we're at so far with the headlines here tonight. So let's take a little break, and I'll see if I can round up Batman for our feature interview tonight here on the Maverick News Channel.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Everybody in Canada, just about everybody anyway, seems to be in opposition to this plan to extend the date, the deadline date for the next federal election. That's because there was this Bill C-65, the Electoral Participation Act. The Liberals are trying to move the next fixed election date from October 20th, 2025 to October 27th, 2025, citing conflicts with a series of fall holidays and local elections. But by moving that date, it also guarantees that a bunch of members of parliament will end up getting or qualifying for their federal pensions. If they serve 6 years, they get the full pension. And if the election is held on that deadline date, the original, then they wouldn't qualify. They'd have to get reelected and then serve another full term. So I guess there's a lot of pushback coming in now from the opposition, including the NDP. So I'm not sure that this is actually going to go through. Not sure. I think the NDP has been reading the room. And of course, they're propping up the government, and I think that they understand, because Jagmeet Singh, too, has been accused of just propping up the government for an extended period to guarantee that he gets his pension. So he has come out and he's saying, I'm not in favor of it at all. I don't support this. I think probably secretly he does, but he's letting Trudeau take all the heat for this. So we'll see where it goes. But now that he's come out and stated this publicly, You have the conservatives in opposition to it. You have the New Democrats in opposition to it. And now it's turned into a political hot potato. Just one more issue that Trudeau is being forced to stand alone on. Interesting how the political game is played, isn't it? Yes. So 1 minute the NDP is propping up Trudeau and supporting him, and the next minute they're like hanging him out to dry, throwing him under the bus. Such is life on Parliament Hill. I think a lot of Canadians will be breathing a sigh of relief on that, because those pensions would leave taxpayers on the hook for a pretty penny in the end. So the Conservatives moved a motion today to try to defeat the bill before it makes it that far, calling it the Loser Liberal Pension Protection Act. So we'll see whether it'll be amended or what happens, but now that's been tabled, and we'll see if it's defeated. It's become like that alone, just carrying that into the next election, that would be just another weight around Trudeau's neck as he tries to survive into 2025. Okay, let's revisit this thing now with the proposed ceasefire in Gaza. Let's get the comments in more detail with Biden here. All right, here we go.
God willing. Now to another issue. I want to give an update on my efforts to end the crisis in Gaza. For the past several months, my negotiators of foreign policy, intelligence community, and like have been relentlessly focused, not just on a ceasefire that would inevitably be fragile and temporary, but on a durable end of the war. That's been the focus, a durable end of this war. One that brings all the hostages home, ensures Israel's security, creates a better day after in Gaza without Hamas in power, and sets the stage for a political settlement that provides a better future for Israelis and Palestinians alike. Now, after intensive diplomacy carried out by my team, and my many conversations with leaders of Israel, Qatar, and Egypt, and other Middle Eastern countries, Israel has offered a comprehensive new proposal. It's a roadmap to an enduring ceasefire and the release of all hostages. This proposal has been transmitted by Qatar to Hamas. Today, I want to lay out its terms for the American citizens and for the world. This new proposal has 3 phases. The first phase would last for 6 weeks. Here's what it would include: a full and complete ceasefire, a withdrawal of Israeli forces from all populated areas of Gaza, release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, the wounded, in exchange for release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. There are American hostages who would be released at this stage, and we want them home. Additional, some remains of hostages who have been killed would be returned to their families, bringing some degree of closure to that terrible grief. Palestinians, civilians would return to their homes and neighborhoods in all areas of Gaza, including in the north. Humanitarian assistance would surge, with 600 trucks carrying aid into Gaza every single day. With the ceasefire, that aid could be safely and effectively distributed to all who need it. Hundreds of thousands of temporary shelters, including housing units, would be delivered by the international community. All that and more would begin immediately. During the 6 weeks of phase 1, Israel and Hamas would negotiate the necessary arrangements to get to phase 2, which is a permanent end to hostilities. Now, I'll be straight with you. There are a number of details to negotiate to move from phase 1 to phase 2. Israel will want to make sure its interests are protected. But the proposal says if the negotiations take longer than 6 weeks, for phase one, the ceasefire will still continue as long as negotiations continue. In the United States, Egypt, and Qatar would work to ensure negotiations keep going. All agreements, until all the agreements are reached and phase two is able to begin. Then phase two, there'd be an exchange for the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers. Israeli forces would withdraw from Gaza, and as long as Hamas lives up to its commitments, a temporary ceasefire would become, in the words of the Israeli proposal, the cessation of hostilities permanently, end of quote. Cessation of hostilities permanently. Finally, in phase three, a major reconstruction plan for Gaza would commence, and any final remains of hostages who've been killed would be returned to their families. That's the offer that's now on the table. And what we've been asking for is what we need. The people of Israel should know they can make this offer without any further risk to their own security because they've devastated Hamas forces over the past 8 months. At this point, Hamas no longer is capable of carrying out another October 7th, which is one of Israel's main objectives in this war, and quite frankly, a righteous one. I know there are those in Israel who will not agree with this plan and will call for the war to continue indefinitely. Some are even in the government coalition. And they've made it clear they want to occupy Gaza, they want to keep fighting for years, and the hostages are not a priority to them. Well, I've urged the leadership in Israel to stand behind this deal, despite whatever pressure comes. And to the people of Israel, let me say this. As someone who's had a lifelong commitment to Israel, as the only American president who's ever gone to Israel in a time of war, as someone who just sent the U.S. forces to directly defend Israel when it was attacked by Iran, I ask you to take a step back and think of what will happen if this moment is lost. We can't lose this moment. Indefinite war in pursuit of an unidentified notion of total victory will not bring Israel, will only bog down Israel and Gaza, draining the economic, military, and human resources, and furthering Israel's isolation in the world. That will not bring hostages home. That will not bring an enduring defeat of Hamas. That will not bring Israel lasting security. But a comprehensive approach that starts with this deal will bring hostages home and will lead to more secure Israel. And once a ceasefire and hostage deal is concluded, it unlocks the possibility of a great deal more progress, including calm along Israel's northern border with Lebanon. The United States will help forge a diplomatic resolution, one that ensures Israel's security and allows people to safely return to their homes without fear of being attacked. With the deal, a rebuilding of Gaza will begin. Arab nations and the international community, along with Palestinian and Israeli leaders, to get it done in a manner that does not allow Hamas to rearm. And the United States will work with our partners to rebuild homes, schools, and hospitals in Gaza, to help repair communities that were destroyed in the chaos of war. And with this deal, Israel could become more deeply integrated in the region, including, it's no surprise to you all, including no potential historic normalization agreement with Saudi Arabia. Israel could be part of a regional security network to counter the threat posed by Iran. All this progress would make Israel more secure, with Israeli families no longer living in the shadow of a terrorist attack. And all this would create the conditions for a different future, and a better future for the Palestinian people. One of self-determination, dignity, security, and freedom. This path is available once the deal is struck. Israel will always have the right to defend itself against the threats to its security and to bring those responsible for October 7th to justice. And the United States will always ensure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself. If Hamas fails to fulfill its commitments under the deal, Israel can resume military operations. But Egypt and Qatar have assured me, and they are continuing to work to ensure that Hamas doesn't do that. The United States will help ensure that Israel lives up to their obligations as well. That's what this deal says. That's what it says. And we'll do our part. This is truly a decisive moment. Israel has made their proposal. Hamas says it wants a ceasefire. This deal is an opportunity to prove whether they really mean it. Hamas needs to take the deal. For months, people all over the world have called for a ceasefire. Now it's time to raise your voices and demand that Hamas come to the table, agrees to this deal, and ends this war that they began. Of course, there'll be differences on the specific details that need to be worked out. That's natural. If Hamas comes to negotiate, ready to deal, then Israel negotiations must be given a mandate, the necessary flexibility to close that deal. The past 8 months have marked heartbreaking pain. Pain of those whose loved ones are slaughtered by Hamas terrorists on October 7th. Hostages and their families waiting in anguish. Ordinary Israelis whose lives were forever marked by the shattering event of Hamas's sexual violence and ruthless brutality. And the Palestinian people have endured sheer hell in this war. Too many innocent people have been killed, including thousands of children. Far too many have been badly wounded. We all saw the terrible images from the deadly fire in Rafah earlier this week, following an Israeli strike against targeting Hamas. And even as we work to surge assistance to Gaza, with 1,800 trucks delivering supplies these last 5 days, 1,800, the humanitarian crisis still remains. I know this is a subject on which people in this country feel deep, passionate convictions, and so do I. This has been one of the hardest, most complicated problems in the world. There's nothing easy about this, nothing easy about it. Through it all, though, the United States has worked relentlessly to support Israeli security, to get humanitarian supplies into Gaza, and to get a ceasefire and a hostage deal to bring this war to an end. Yesterday, with this new initiative, we've taken an important step in that direction. I want to level with you today as to where we are and what might be possible. But I need your help. Everyone who wants peace now must raise their voices and let the leaders know they should take this deal, work to make it real, make it lasting, and forge a better future out of the tragic terror attack and war. It's time to begin this new stage. For the hostages to come home, for Israel to be secure, for the suffering to stop. It's time for this war to end, for the day after to begin. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump referred to himself.
So they cut that audio at the end so you didn't see the question, hear the question, or see his response, which we ran because we had the other feed from Fox to show you how he responded to the question about Trump. Well, that was kind of an unbelievable moment, and we have something else that's truly unbelievable around the corner right after this. In this TRUSPIRACIES segment, Batman is going to join us. No, really. He's a friend of mine, and I think you're going to love him. So stick around. This is, it's as usual, news so true, it's unbelievable.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's get to tonight's feature interview. Here we go. Let's bring him in. Here he is. Batman, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Walker. How are you today?
I'm great. Actually, it's been a fantastic day. Beautiful and sunny here. It's kind of dark there, which is fitting, I guess.
Yeah, I like it.
That's right. Where are you exactly? You're not in your Batmobile, you're in...
This is part of the Batcave.
Part of the Batcave, yes. So I want to introduce you to the audience because some people are probably having a little bit of difficulty understanding what this is about. But for folks who don't know, Batman lives in Brampton and actually has the Batmobile, and you will see him on the streets of Brampton patrolling and living the life of Batman. How did you get started doing this? When did you become Batman?
I became who I am, unfortunately, because of the death of my father.
And can you elaborate a little bit on that and tell us how you came to live in Brampton?
Let's see what I can do. 14 years old, being raised by my mom and my dad. I have my dad and my father. Those are the distinctions. Being raised by my mom and my dad instilled me with beliefs, practices, and attributations such as martial arts, swimming, scouts, guides, things like that, where you end up learning right from wrong. And being in Markville Mall, there was a thief on a Canada-wide warrant for his arrest. He was spotted doing what he's doing, which was credit card fraud. When he was chased out of the store and out of the mall, the chase ended up having the two of them there saying, "Stop him, stop him." So what I did was I chased after him. I ended up catching him using a lot of the experience that I've learned from martial arts, right and wrong, and definitely from growing up in the school system that I was in. When I caught him, I ended up learning he was on a Canada-wide warrant, which made the story such a big success. Unfortunately, very shortly after, my father was murdered. This was something that became a very strong turning point in my life. I wanted to make sure that he understood that he had a chance to be proud of his son. And with my mom that was there, that was the permission I needed. And here I am.
And so for folks who are not cluing in, like, this is a true story. This was recorded in many mainstream media outlets. police reports confirming all of this, and this is what really led to you deciding to live your life, devoting it to doing the right things and bringing positivity to your community. Is that fair?
That would be accurate and apt. It makes a big difference when you can make someone have them feel awe. Have a family bring their child, definitely have their father in their arms, bring them to you and say, son, there is the real Batman. May I have a picture with you? Please and thank you is something that I stand for. I make sure that I reward manners, good manners, as much as possible. So for things like this, I will definitely be out there, and it's not an always thing, but when I can, I do my best to have the best impact as possible.
And you are in the community regularly, and there's a picture of your Batmobile, the real deal. And tell us a little bit about that car.
The Batmobile for me is hopefully, obviously, a dream come true. This was something that I worked my behind off for, and I now have it. And the excitement around the Batmobile, the first time that I had any chance of being a part of it, owning it, I was on CTV News. Good Morning was the program that it was on. And they did an interview with me. It was my first time ever being on live television or something like this.
So the car itself, can you tell us give us any of the technical information about it? What kind of engine it has, horsepower, any of those kind of details?
A magician never tells his secrets.
Fair enough. There's another photo of you, and I guess you just had some photos taken by someone, which are, I mean, they're really gorgeous pics, and I think they really kind of capture the essence of who and what you are. Your suit too. I mean, it is. That's something else that it's become iconic. Does it provide a lot of protection for you? Is there like body armor in there? Tell us about that.
The Batsuit is a very real thing. It does offer me protection, but I do my best to be very careful saying that. You don't want someone catching me saying that and saying, let me test it out. That's not the idea. Right. But the Batsuit does offer protection top to bottom. And especially when it is paired up with the Batmobile, and that one isn't it. But when it's paired up with the Batmobile, the resulting presentation is something that is quite a sight to see when you're not expecting me, beside you, in front of you, and my favorite, right behind you.
Now, there's some other people in a few of these photos with you. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
I can. Not always do I get a chance to do anything like it, but there are members of a community, and they have called themselves cosplayers. So there are some that reach out to me. I don't get a chance to say yes to all of them, but there are some that reach out to me, and they have their own passions, their own creativity. A lot of them that they actually make exactly what you see. So I give them as much respect as possible because they're the artists of what you're seeing. So this was a photo shoot with Santos Collection and Felicia Black Cat. Basically, they asked me to come out, and because there were 3 or more requests that evening, I decided to have them to be in a conglomerate and put them together and say, okay, let's make that one date and time available for all of us. And these were the results.
Great shots. Oh, it looks like you're having some fun there and maybe a little bit of a challenge. But I mean, these are cosplayers, as you put it, but you really go beyond cosplaying. You really and this is what people in this need to understand here tonight. You really are Batman. Can you explain to people what that means?
What it means to be myself. Again, I do my best not to encourage anyone else to do exactly the same. It is dangerous. You can get yourself hurt or worse. You have families that love you and are expecting you to return home. So please do that. For me to be who I am, I have caught a criminal on a Canada-wide warrant. I have caught a jewelry thief. I have stopped a driver that was under intoxication while on foot, and he wasn't. And I have served as someone that has been experienced through CPR, first aid, things like this, and helps people on the side.
Right, and really, what you're doing here is you're involved with the community, with the cosplayers here. You're posing for the photos, and this is all. This I'm sure this was fun to do, but
Spider-Man was in the shot. Hopefully, you can see him.
Yes, I do see that. But again, like this is dramatization and as part of a photo shoot, but you really do live the life of a crime fighter, and you're out on patrol in your community, and I again I have to reinforce this for people because what you're doing is so unique.
Time now is 8:25. This interview is directly before the patrol. Sometimes it happens now, but as for the amount of people that know that I'm out there, I have to be careful because sometimes you can actually cause a vehicular accident when people turn their head and see you. So I want to be safe as well as I want to make the community as safe as possible.
Yeah. And
being out there, doing what I do is, again, it's unique on my own because I made a promise. That's why I'm out there. I made a promise, and if I can make my father and if I can make my dad proud of me, this is exactly what I want to do, why I want to do it. And the last aspiration is now my mother.
And here's this photo at sunset just before you go on patrol in the Batmobile. And it is a street legal car. And
if it wasn't, I would have lost it a long time ago.
Right, and that's because you've been pulled over on numerous occasions by police. But tell me about your relationship with police in your community.
When it comes to local police, first things first is respect. I show them respect, period. What comes back is up to them. They are a reality that is out there day and night. And this is something that when they see me, if they pull me over or stop me, there are, I'd say, about 70% a time where they're looking for photographs or even just to meet you and say, I've heard about you. Can I shake your hand? And the answer is always yes. There are times where I get lucky. Within the policing community, they do have a family together where they head out to things like the Polar Bear Challenge or Peel Crime Stoppers, these kind of things. I get lucky if I'm named as a special guest.
Yes, and here you are at, I guess that would be a Santa Claus parade in Brampton.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And I guess that must be a really special thing for you because you get to interact with the public and make kids smile.
The bat suit that you see there is a bit of a warmer one for me, but I chose that one because it was a complete difference than what you're seeing here. When you see the children that are out there, when you see the families that come out from Brampton or other municipalities for the Santa Claus parades, what a surprise.
That's fantastic stuff. And there's another shot from, I guess that's probably the same event.
That's Mayor Dave Barton, Uxbridge.
So you obviously are well known in your community, well respected. You are dialed in, connected, and like many of the community leaders that you meet, you're a community leader yourself, which is
one of the things that I can bring up is when someone is excited to take a photograph with me, it is an honor. Thank you. I appreciate that. The idea is I try my best to be the kind of person that you're proud to take a picture of with me. So because of that, anytime that I'm given the privilege to shake a hand, meet the public, definitely the dignitaries, police, and officials, that is the biggest thank you for me, to let the community know that I am here.
And here you are in another, is that the same parade?
That one was last year's Santa Claus parade in Uxbridge, yes.
Uxbridge, okay. And there you are. I guess at times you'll stop and get out of the vehicle and let the families get a good look at you and maybe even go over and interact with some of the kids.
Following the rules of the Santa Claus parades. Yes. I can't go too far. One of the reasons why is because, one, I don't want to incite people to come close and surround the Batmobile. Right. It's dangerous for them and for me. But then the second one is there are more participants and entrants into the Santa Claus parades. I'm not the show. The host is, and definitely the community that I'm in, they're the show. So I want to remain respectful to all those that are behind me. They're presenting as well.
You know, I think what you're doing is so positive. You're absolutely trying to do the right things and set a good example and be a role model. How do you feel about the way society has become today? Are role models in short supply, and is that one of the reasons you do what you do?
I wouldn't say that role models are in short supply. I would say that our society definitely tests them these days. There's a lot more encouragement for asking questions, for finding out if you are on the right path multiple times, which are good things. If you stand for something, you don't fall for anything. That's exactly the way I would say it.
Now here you are, parked inside, I guess, in a shopping center,
right,
at a food court, right, where you're doing a meet and greet. And how many events like this would you do in a given year? And do you have any events coming up?
This weekend in Streetsville, they have something called the Streetsville Bread and Honey Festival. I never heard about something like that until they invited me to be there. And ever since being there, I never realized how vibrant Streetsville and Mississauga really can be. There are people that know that name far longer than I do. So now I'm there. And the passion for these kind of things, especially when they show me pictures of Mayor Hazel McCallion of Mississauga, has attended there multiple years. It's awesome to realize that you're one of the guests that are there.
It is an honor. And, there you are with a young person. And
I do my best to be as gentle as possible.
Yes. Another youngster?
Absolutely.
This is great stuff. I love this stuff. This is fantastic. We need more of this in our communities. We really do. It's just so positive. And it's so rare, I would say. Is this again the same parade that we were looking at before?
This one was 2 years ago at the Brampton. No, sorry, last year. The Santa Claus parade in Brampton that just passed. Yes.
Okay. And yeah, and of course, you and I, we met because you came all the way up to Ottawa for the Ottawa-Gatineau International Auto Show. And participated in that, and it was a great treat to have you up there, and I'm hoping that we can get you back up there again this year if we can make that show happen. We're planning on doing it, And I hope it all comes together. And it looks like another community leader there thanking you for...
Ruby Sahota. Absolutely.
Yeah. Who is that?
Miss Ruby Sahota is a Minister of Parliament, MP, for Brampton.
You are connected. Somebody
There's
checking
Dad.
out your Batmobile. Who's that?
That's my dad.
I see.
Unfortunately, before he passed. He did pass October 23rd. That just passed.
Oh, I'm so
that's
sorry.
One of the last times that he was out. And I made sure to be in attendance as much as possible. Basically show Dad, here I am. And as you can sit down and rest, this is what you'll see that when I head out there. So when you see me, if you think of my dad, you'll realize that I am someone that grew up with a mother, a father, in a loving home. And my point, my purpose is to share back the love that I grew up with as many people as I can.
Well, you're certainly doing that. And is that your mom?
Easy to tell, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just don't know what I look like. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of people would say, well, who is the man behind the mask? But you don't reveal your secret identity, the man behind the mask. You because this is really who you are.
If you tell a secret, it no longer is.
Tell us a little bit about your dad. What was he like?
I learned from him something called the Ratepayers Association. While I was growing up, there were times where, and I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name, and I can't, but nevertheless, we handed out flyers. We went to food banks, is where I learned that about. Something called Social Justice Club, Loop 418, where you actually help out in your community. So there were a lot of things that Dad did. One of the most notable things that I will always remember is he was a host of 88.1 CKLN's jazz program. So there's a lot of jazz behind this cape and cowl. He was also part of Toastmasters. So anytime you see Dad, which means you'll see me and doing the exact same, he'll wear a suit, a tie, learn how to tie a tie, button your jacket when you're standing up, unbutton your jacket when you're sitting down. Presentations, learning how to be in the community, learning how to talk. Shaking hands with Mayor Frank Scarpiti of Markham. These kind of things was part of Dad. And what was awesome was for him to be my dad. I was in attendance as seamlessly as anyone does the rest of their life. So me being out there was and is very natural to me.
He seems like a very special man, and there you are with an officer who it looks like he pulled you over. What happened? Yeah,
I'm ready to say Norfolk, and that's not the right spot. Once I remember exactly where we're coming back from, I can. But coming back, you'll see the cruiser that's behind me. That's one of the times you get pulled over, and you know you're going to, because every turn you make, there's the same turn that they make behind you, which is fine. It's fine because you know you're not breaking the law. So if they stop you, you know it's for nothing bad. And you get out, shake a hand, ask the officer's name, and usually the next thing that the officer says is, I have a son. Do you mind taking a video and saying hi to him? The answer is yes.
And these stops sometimes end up making headlines. You've been covered in the media. Tell me about some of the media coverage you have received.
The officer that is in the picture that you have depicted there, do you see what's in his hand?
Let me see if I can. Hang on. I'm not sure. I can't really make it out. Is it a... Oh, is that a batarang?
And he'll never forget it. Well done, Mr. Walker. You got it.
That's
what
so
was your
cool.
question? Let me answer it.
I don't remember.
Understood. I do believe it was around me being pulled over and
Oh,
how much
right.
attention sometimes get.
Yeah, how much? Tell me about the media coverage that you have received. How widespread has it been? Has it been, local, national, international, or all of the above?
It has been all of the above. The first time it ever happened, I was coming home from Kingston. This is when the Batmobile was new to me. I heard a sound that I wasn't used to. I stopped, pulled over, stopped. This is on the 401 heading back from Kingston. And when I did that, I took a look at the back, make sure that is still, everything's still status quo. Yep, everything's fine. Get back in the Batmobile. Unfortunately, now there's a traffic jam. Fine. Which means I'm used to, as a Torontonian, I'm used to being able to navigate traffic jams. The traffic jam was my fault. I didn't realize this. So now, getting home, there are aspects in life called the AP and CP, Associated Press and Canadian Press. They contacted me and asked me, Batman, were you driving home? Yes, I was. Were you stranded? No, I wasn't. And you continue telling the truth of what it is. There are times where the story stays the same as you tell it. And there are times where the story embellishes to something different. And when the public believes something different, it's hard to let it go.
And you're at some sort of a fall festival there, I can
Woodbridge
see.
Fall Festival. Well
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Man, you are so awesome. And these kids love you. The car is so cool.
That's the mayor.
This is so cool.
This one is the mayor of Georgetown.
That's excellent. And another kidlet. And another. Oh, hey, somebody paying tribute to you in his own bat
The star
suit.
of the show for me are always the families and children that come out. Again, one of the things that I make sure that I stand for are good manners. Please, thank you, these kind of things. The reason why is if it catches on how people speak, how people interact, they're not so quick, judgmental, or hostile. Can you imagine a softer, kinder world for us to grow up in, have our families, and just like you see in the picture, be able to put on an awesome batsuit and shake my hand?
We could sure use a whole lot more of manners, couldn't we, these days? So many people seem to forget them. Wow. Is that September 15th, Brampton Batman? Is that a special date, September 15th?
That would be my birthday.
I gotcha. Okay. And we do have some video as well, I think, of the Batmobile in motion. That guy looks like
Those
Ringo
things are
Starr. That guy, is that Ringo Starr?
I bet you he'd be blushing for that. This is Montreal, Quebec, at someone's wedding, and this was right before that he made his vows. So something like this, obviously now for their family, I'm just thankful I'm allowed to be a part of the ride. This is in the history books for him.
That's so cool. What a great wedding. What an incredible wedding that would be. Is that the wedding, or is that...
That was not the wedding. That gentleman is a Canadian celebrity, and unfortunately the name does escape my mind. But as a Canadian celebrity, for news, I was about to say for Much Music, and that doesn't exist anymore. For news, I believe he had his own... He's a host, I believe.
Yeah, he looks familiar, but I can't place
But I
him
forgot his
either.
name, yes.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm sure he has lots of followers who do know who he is. There you are. Just amazing stuff. What an amazing life. And there's that car. That is so cool. I mean, the heads must turn when they see you going down the road in real life, in real time.
There
It
are
is
good
real.
reactions and bad reactions, but as always, for all of it, one of the things that my dad said to me before he passed was, I have to always remember that now that I'm recognizable while in the public, I have to make sure that my reactions are positive. Everything that I grew up with, make sure that people smile as big as she is.
Yeah, well, that's important. I mean, your image is reality with people, right? So, yeah, you have to be mindful of that at all times now. And because it's all about those kids too, right? In making sure that you live up to
My
their
favorite one are their parents. Their
Yeah.
parents are the fans that bring their children, and I like to make the parents as special as possible. So you see shots like the one you have there, and it isn't about the age. It really is about the personality. Bring your positive personality. Bring your excitement. That is what's welcome right here.
You do make a big difference in people's lives. You really do. What an asset to your town, to your community, to all the communities that you visit. It's just amazing stuff. And to have you out there on the street at night patrolling, I mean, that in itself is a big treat for people. And I guess you must attend, just even locally, some of your local events like cruise nights and car shows. Tell us about that.
There are times that I'm asked to be out for something like that. I'm not always able to say yes. When I can, I make sure that it is something that won't turn into anything bad. For example, the city of Vaughan has had a problem with car meets. There are, unfortunately, the way I say it, people that turn a win into a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what the city of Vaughan has done is they've banned car meets. No car meets. So, which means when I'm out there, I want to make sure that I'm not affiliated with anything that is undesirable. So, I may get the request, but I want to make sure that I leave a good impression.
Right.
Otherwise, I won't get invited back.
Right. And I can understand why Vaughan has banned those car meets, and it's because they've had some problems with people not following the rules of the road,
Right.
and doing some things like that.
Noise violations, rules of the road, general safety for the public. Absolutely.
Yep, a few bad apples spoiling things for the whole bunch at times. Now here's some footage of the Batmobile in action. Tell us, when I get this up on the screen, you can tell us a little bit about this video. Here we go. Let me get it cued. This is a great shot of the Batmobile on the road. This is so cool. This is like a dream for so many people. That is so wicked. There you are, man.
What's beside me is a black Lamborghini.
Yeah, let me bring the audio down on this.
Into that shot, but the Lamborghini wouldn't pass me. So change lanes and get moving, because as you saw, the lane was ending.
That is one long car, that Batmobile. What's it? Are there any peculiarities or idiosyncrasies about, or unique things about driving that car? It must be a different kind of experience.
To drive the Batmobile certainly is not the same driving experience as a daily driver. you'll have to, just like any other car, to remember that there are sight lines, there are body augmentations, how long it is, how short it is, how wide a car is. And again, the first thing first is to be safe for the rest of the public. After that, that's it. You drive the way you were taught, safety in mind, and while you're out there, it really is about where you're going.
And it's very, very long. So does that create many unique challenges in driving it? You must need to always be mindful of the length of the vehicle when you're changing lanes and keeping in mind how much distance there is in the back end of the car, things like that.
You do have to do that. Unfortunately, the speed you saw me drive at is unfortunately not always the speed that I'm able to drive at. There are those that create either a rolling roadblock or any kind of reason for that I'd have to stay back. If anyone creates a rolling roadblock, I do my best to discourage them to continue to inhibit the rest of the road. So unfortunately, you'll see some scenarios where drivers with their cell phones in their hands, not on the wheel at all, both hands on their cell phone, steadying their phone for a shot, which means that their vehicle now drifts into my own, is the reason why I stay far back. I'm trying to be proactive, not to get into an accident.
I got you. Here's another video clip that was produced that looks pretty cool. Very cool stuff. I love this stuff.
When it comes to a lot of the work that you're seeing, the way that I make sure to highlight is there is an artist behind the lens of that camera. There's an artist that is expressing what they see, what kind of end product that they want to produce, and it goes on their page, public and private. Those are the stars that I like to make sure I give them credit for, and when they do good work, encourage them to come out again and again. So it's not simply only the public that I show respect for. It is also the photographers, videographers, and artists, and definitely the cosplayers that have their passion, show their work, something like that, and they ask me to be a part of it. I only have one word: thank you.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Let me bring this one up here too. I'm going to pull the audio down so we don't get a copyright strike. So again, Batman, just to kind of bring things to a bit of a conclusion here, tell us again, how can people find you, and where will you be over the course of the summer? What kind of events and festivals will you be attending? Do you have a list yet, or do you need people to get in touch with you to invite you to more of these things?
The best ways to reach me is on Facebook. There is a page that the public has called me Brampton Batman. I didn't call myself that, the public did. I remember this one. That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I won't run the music or we'll get hit with a copyright strike, but yeah, very cool video.
Got it.
And obviously Brampton Batman, they're calling you that because that's the area in which you
that's where you
live
find
and
me the most.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And patrol a lot there, out at night patrolling, and
I do change it up from time to time, but when I do, again, I try to be one, as safe as possible, because I'm not home. I want to make sure that I respect your home. So if I go to Markham, Mississauga, anywhere else that I can think of, I want to make sure that I'm not causing more of a problem than a solution.
All right, and here's your Facebook page right there. You can find more information, and you can make contact right through that Facebook page at Brampton Batman, and a very cool shot there on your header as well. I'm so grateful for the time that you've spent with us here tonight. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss or think that I might have missed?
One other thing that I can put out there for anyone's enjoyment. A few years ago, I got lucky. There was a videographer team called Lossless for the Toronto International Film Festival. They did a production on me. It was a bit of a documentary. There's two documentaries. One was Bravo TV, and the other one was Lossless. The Lossless production went to the Toronto International Film Festival, and it's called Being Batman. It is a very short film, but that is the movie poster that I've chosen to put on that page. So that wasn't my work. That's the Lossless brothers' work that that took that photograph. So that's exactly what where I'd start from there.
Right, and that will
tell
tell
things to enjoy, for things to be aware of, and even turn around and kind of say, you know what, I think I like the work that everyone else does. Again, the people, all the hosts that asked me to be there, that's their production that they've asked me to only be a guest. I didn't make it up; they did. For the lenses, the photographers, the experience when they take a picture of me. Some of them are good. Some of them are even more fantastic than the last. Can you imagine the amount of years and experience it takes, and money, to buy the lenses to take these photographs, pictures, and then for videos, storyboards? It's their creativity, not mine. I didn't make it up. They did.
So that documentary, Being Batman, that will fill in some of the blanks maybe if you have more questions about Batman and what he's all about, what he stands for.
It just will show you who I am.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because you're seeing who you are. And that's something I had to kind of wrap my head around, honestly, because, I mean, we all have an idea of what we think Batman is or who Batman is, but until you meet Batman, you don't understand that this is Batman. It's just you have to understand that, and never will he reveal his secret identity behind the mask, because this is actually the person that you are. You are living as Batman. You are Batman.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One last thing before we go. When we have people on this program who do positive things for their communities and go above and beyond to fight for freedom and to make people smile and make people's lives better, we knight people here. We turn them into Maverick Knights. Now, you're already the Dark Knight, but if with your permission, I would like to make you a Maverick Knight as well. Would that be all right? Can I knight you tonight?
I appreciate that. Thank you so very much.
All right, here we go. Hang on. And I knight thee, Sir Dark Knight.
We, the Maverick family, do hereby dub thee an official Maverick Knight, freedom fighter extraordinaire. May your courage and devotion to freedom and truth become a shining example to the people of our world and the Maverick universe. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Well done. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege to have you on the program tonight. Absolutely. And I hope to have you back on again at some point.
I appreciate that.
All right. We'll let you go, and I'll run a little transition or two here, and then we'll come back on the other side. Thank you. You have a great night.
Stay safe.
Told you. Batman. What an awesome, awesome guy. All right, stay with me, folks. I'll be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, folks. I guess that probably gets us to about the end of the broadcast. So with that, I will just close with the usual please like, share, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to hit the like button. Consider subscribing over on Rumble, where we continue to grow. If you do subscribe over on our YouTube channels, make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of the new videos that we put out. We're live here every night, as you know, and I appreciate all of you guys being here tonight. Again, my privilege to have all of you here, and I'll look forward to resuming our coverage of the daily news tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.